What if the church already has what a lost generation needs? For the Colson Center, I'm John Stonestreet. This is Breakpoint. Though Gen Zers have all but replaced millennials as the dazzling object of all scrutiny and cultural analysis, it's not because millennials are no longer struggling. Rates of addiction, depression, burnout, loneliness, these are all disproportionately high among the demographic born between 1981 and 1996. Since 2013, in fact, millennials have seen a 47% increase in major depression diagnoses. And for their part, evangelical millennials are in a season of deconstruction and deconversion, reeling from many of the influential and high-profile leaders that have recently either left the faith or fallen from grace. Disillusionment is now a dominant feature of evangelical millennials, a group once convinced that it could change the world. In his influential book, The Righteous Mind, Jonathan Haidt uses a rider and an elephant in order to illustrate moral psychology. Here's how it goes. The rider represents intellectual reasoning. The elephant, immediate perceptions, intuitions, and instincts. Now, most modern people are convinced, argues Haidt, that their own moral frameworks are derived from objective, rational reasoning. In other words, it's the rider who tells the elephant where to go, what to eat. In reality, however, our moral decisions primarily come from our gut instincts, and we use our intellectual reasoning in order to justify those decisions. Or back to our metaphor, the elephant wants bananas. The rider then explains why bananas are good after the decision to get bananas is already made by the elephant. If Haidt is right, we can better understand the beauty and power of Christianity. To borrow his metaphor, Christ speaks to both the rider and to the elephant. Like newborn babes, said the Apostle Peter, crave pure spiritual milk, so that by it you may grow up in your salvation, now that you've tasted that the Lord is good. You see, Christianity is not only ultimately true, it's ultimately satisfying. It's satisfying, in fact, because it is true. Now, this is perhaps a better lens by which to understand millennial deconstruction, deconversion, and disillusionment. What if a generation of Christians are leaving Christianity because they were taught to crave the wrong thing? Recently, my friend Sean McDowd described a conversation he had with a deconverted evangelical. He was surprised to learn that this skeptic first started to doubt his faith at, and I'm not kidding, a Coldplay concert. Now, there are plenty of anti-Christian bands. Coldplay is not really one of them. The lead singer did not challenge anyone's faith or any Christian truth claim from the stage. But here's what happened. The concert produced in the skeptic so many of the feelings that he'd always associated with worship. The stadium of people singing in unison, the strong emotion elicited by lyrics and melody, the unifying cultural grandeur of it all. It all just felt like church. But then if that were true, what had he been experiencing all those years at church? It suddenly seemed plausible to this millennial that Christianity was just another man-made phenomenon. Enjoyable, moving, but not really true. You know, like a Coldplay concert. What if what we're seeing here is the fruit of a generation that was sold endless attempts to make Christ cool and likable, to make worship relevant and hyper-emotional, to make Christian morality more about politics and cultural influence than about obedience to God? And what if this generation has now found those same experiences elsewhere at a cheaper price? What if all the trendy marketing, the political capital, the massive concerts inadvertently taught a generation to love the glamour, to love the feelings, but not really to love Christ? Look, if there's any truth to this analysis, there's also a consolation here, because many millennials have discovered that there are no better answers out there in the culture. And yet, like all human beings, they still crave the truth, the depth, and the beauty that's only found in the gospel. Chuck Colson kept a plaque on his desk that read, "Faithfulness, not success." Because he had climbed the heights of worldly success, he knew that nothing in this life could ultimately satisfy. He was forced to reckon with just how empty it all was. And then he encountered Jesus. Here's how he put it in Loving God. God doesn't want our success. He wants us. He doesn't demand our achievements. He demands our obedience. The kingdom of God is a kingdom of paradox, where through the ugly defeat of a cross, a holy God is utterly glorified. Victory comes through defeat, healing through brokenness, finding self through losing self. Culture, even Christian culture, will come and go. The eternal truths of Christ, on the other hand, are forever. And they're more than enough to satisfy a thirsty and a drifting generation. For the Colson Center, I'm John Stonestreet with Breakpoint.